country, and I pulled up Google Maps on a phone.
Whoa.
And this is like early, you know.
They're like, whoa.
And we zoomed into his property, and you could see his dad's legs under a tractor. He's like, what? He's like, is that right now? And I'm like, probably not.
Where's your dad? Oh, he's in the toilet. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Oh, he drove me here. Oh. Well, then he's obviously not under a fucking tractor.
There you go.
But yeah, I was like, you would have thought that his brain broke that day. You know what I mean?
Did. From then on out, he was like, technology. It changed him into a different kind of robot. I'm a different kind of robot.
A quiet good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning. It's for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we take that piece of pop culture you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. This week you get something special. It's Thankskilling in May.
Yes. First week of May. We
toss out a Thankskilling at you.
It's our Thanksgiving Mother's Day special.
Yeah.
Before Mother's Day.
So this episode was brought to you by a subscriber, I hope, a viewer, a commenter, if you will.
Yes.
And we've been talking a lot, and we've talked about it a little bit on the Quickcast, I believe, as well, about how the Thankskilling episodes that we did, which were like Threads, The Day After, what's the other one?
Testament.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
My personal favorite.
Yeah, I know.
Heart-wrenching.
Well, none of them make you feel good. But
By Dawn's Early Light does.
okay, well, we'll get there.
Did watch that one the other night too.
So this is another movie in that theme, if you will. What movie are we doing today?
This
This
movie
morning, whenever you're listening to this,
came out in 1961.
yes.
So this is a very, very early depiction of what it might be like during a nuclear attack or something caused by a nuclear attack.
Right.
Not necessarily like, destroying cities and people living after it, but in a different way. This one's called The Day the Earth Caught Fire.
Yes.
Never heard of it before.
No, nor had I.
Not until this. And I have to say, all the way through, very well acted.
Yeah.
Nice script. It was totally a timepiece period. 100%. Like, that it was in the 60s.
Yeah, it very
Great.
much felt like late 50s, early 60s,
Still Cold World, scare, but it wasn't American because it was British.
Right.
It was a British show.
Well, I mean, I think the Cold War the Cold War with the United States, I get that, but I mean, everybody lived in that.
Yeah, oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
And I think if it was an American movie, they would have depicted it as the Soviets are attacking us. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But in Britain, they're like, meh, some shit's happening somewhere.
Right. Well, this movie takes a whole different approach. Though.
Yes, a good approach too.
An interesting one for sure.
Yeah, it's like the flow of information.
Yeah.
Kind of in a weird way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll buy that.
Yeah, it's like
But I mean, even what happens to the world in this, is very off of what you might expect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, what's this movie about, Dan?
Well, this movie, first of all, is called The Day the Earth Caught Fire. Did we already say that?
Did I say it?
I don't know.
I think so.
You probably did. I just said it again for those that didn't catch it.
1961's the day the Earth caught fire.
Yeah. So this movie, first of all, starts out really strange because it's in that red hue.
Yes.
You know, and we'll get more, I guess, into that when but that was like the one thing that caught me right away. I'm like, what is going on here? And then it changes.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa.
It goes to straight black and white.
Yeah.
It goes to more of a red tint because they were using like some French weird cameras or some shit like that. Everything was matte in the whole thing, except for a lot of the interior shots were actual real places. There was a lot of really cool shit in there because they were on, what was it? What's the street? It's not. Is it Fleet Street? No, I don't think so.
The answer to that.
Anyway,
but yeah, at any rate, so basically what happens is that there's some nuclear bomb testing that happens, and it starts causing. Well, there's things that start happening in the world that they start attributing to that.
Because how do they put them? They were the largest bombs detonated so far.
Yeah.
So the way that, so the whole movie takes place in 100-day time period, from what I gathered. Okay, so I guess the United States were somewhere and detonated the largest bomb in history.
So it was Russia and the United States.
And Russia did it afterwards, like the next day or some shit like that. Because
they're simultaneous.
Oh, I thought they were at different times.
No.
I thought one was like 10 days before, and then the other was like 5 days before. So it was like,
I think they were. I thought they were at the same time.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah. 2 giant bombs, the biggest, like the Tsar bomba,
right?
Were detonated, bigger than that,
right?
So,
and I think that what we start seeing is like more ecological things happening. Like tidal waves and earthquakes and things like that.
Weird fog,
yeah.
Yeah, low hanging clouds. The heat, just again where you get the day the Earth caught fire,
right?
Type shit. So it's just like all the seasons are off. Everything's kind of weird, but it was a disaster caused by us, but which we don't find out exactly why that was the cause
until much later in the film.
Yes.
Yeah, probably what, 3/4 of the way through the film?
I think so. In the way that they played
they do preface it.
Oh yeah, they
with
say
the guy's theory.
Yeah.
In the press room or whatever. But yeah, it's not till much later that's confirmed that that's really what's going on.
Exactly, and they find out the truth and
right.
Yeah. But it's told from a publisher's a newspaper standpoint. So so the ear of the world, whatever, they're having these stories go out, and that was our big modes of communication. Even though TV and radio were still going, so they allude to it for a long ways, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is what happened."
Right?
Like, no. Which is fucking pretty. It's a different take on that.
It's a different take. I thought it was pretty well written.
Yes.
Like, it was pretty well done, especially for the time.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's some special effects. You're like, yeah, but then you're like, what? It's 1961. Of course, the special effects look like shit.
Stock footage, all the shit that they recycled and used. Right. It was cool. And then the beatnik music that they had. That was kind of weird. But I think originally the main character was supposed to be like what, Richard Burton or something like that, or somebody like that. So you
like someone of note.
Yes. So yeah. So like somebody like totally was supposed to be in this role, but wasn't this guy's first movie too? Not the director, but the actor.
The actor Edward Judd.
Yeah.
Isn't that the guy's name?
I think so.
I believe so. And I don't know that he did any other movies, did he?
I don't know. I don't think
so.
Yeah. But this is an X-rated movie, too.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's more the subject matter, right?
Yeah.
Than it is anything.
Yeah, it was written for Richard Burton.
Yeah. And I didn't think the guy that was in it was bad.
No, not at all.
So it's weird that he didn't really.
Well, it's the dialogue that once you know that it was written for him, you're like, okay. Yeah, I could see him being a womanizer asshole.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And apparently he did do a lot of other things.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, like a lot.
Cool.
Like a whole bunch.
Well, so...
but he was a British actor, so we might not have seen, especially stuff from the, 60s, 50s.
Right. And it's confusing, too, because a lot of the accents overlap. There's American accents and there's British accents, but they're in England on Fleet Street.
Right. Well, he apparently made movies from the late 40s to the late 80s.
God dang.
Yeah. And he was also on some sort of television.
Oh.
But that's like a one-off by comparison to the amount of movies he did. And that's the selected filmography.
Wow.
I just had to Wikipedia this dude because I didn't see anything on him. Wow. But apparently he's a fairly big British actor.
Well, I think I've heard of the woman before, Janet Monroe or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. She's been in a lot of different things. Yeah, a lot of weird movies like The Crawling Eye. Oh. So yeah, she acted.
You know what she was in that I love, or at least loved when I was a kid? Darby O'Gill and the Little People, the Disney movie about the leprechaun.
Never
It's
seen
like
it.
a live action movie.
Never seen
what?
it. Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh my goodness.
She started in a lot of stuff. You get to see her boobies in this one too.
Yeah.
In the mirror.
Yep.
There's a booby shot.
Booby shot for you kids.
And it's kind of crazy because you don't notice it until somebody's like, hey, you get to see her boobs. But the first time you see that, you're like, whoa, she's almost naked?
Yeah.
In 1961, they haven't even shown a toilet on TV yet.
This is true.
Yes. Huh? How did they let that one go? They're like, I didn't see it. Neither did I.
Well, she was a good-looking young lady.
She was.
And maybe is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if she's still living or not. But there was a lot of the actors were actually.
She died in 1972.
Oh shit! Huh?
That's sad.
Yeah.
Before we was born, even.
Sorry. Yeah. So like even the publisher, editor in chief or whatnot, he was like a real editor in chief.
Right.
Of that newspaper, and then like
he was a swarmy looking dude too.
Yeah, I know.
Looked like a caterpillar face or something. I don't understand.
And then there was like the what was it? The bar owners. They were married, and we kind of only see them a couple of times.
Right.
And I noticed this was funny too. One thing that I notice is it seems like they've been doing this since forever, but there is a Mystery Science Theater 3000 moment. Okay. Whenever they were listening to the radio or watching the TV in the bar, and the radio or whoever, the announcer, whoever was speaking over the airwaves said something, and some dude in the background was like, "Oh yeah, your mother did it," or something like that, right? I was like, "What? That was a fucking total fucking." He's talking to him just like Mystery Science. That's awesome. You know what I mean? It was one of those rare things where you, huh? So they've been doing that forever?
He is the genesis of Crow.
Yes. Probably. He's like, hey, he's doing their job. Why didn't he stick with it?
Right.
So basically, I guess where we were going to was the premise of the movie. The two largest, well, do you want to get into what the story is, or you want to keep going a little bit more on the cast?
Let's talk about the director a little bit. Val Guest, because he was part of Hammer Films, or I guess he's done a lot of films with them, I should say.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty cool. If you're a Hammer Films guy, but he did some stuff.
Hammer is very, very good for what it was.
Right.
And it was that second wave of Universal Monster type shit. They bought all those properties and were like, here you go. That was like our parents' generation.
Yes.
They got to see the Hammer films,
But this guy directed for quite a while. So
Nice.
I guess not quite a while, but like looks like 65. And his first one was in like 54, I think.
He did a lot of writing
Maybe
too.
a little bit before that.
Didn't he write this
50.
movie as well?
I don't know if he was the writer on this movie. I think
No,
so.
he wasn't.
No.
No, it was somebody else, but yeah, he wrote a lot of movies. Like
Yeah, he did write a lot of movies. He got a lot of credits for that.
Yeah, didn't he write or he directed Casino Royale. The first one with Peter Sellers, I think.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, there's a couple of big time things that came out of this. I guess out of the handful, the handful of directors back in the day.
Right.
Especially where they were at, like in England and shit like that. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about like early English movies at all. I mean, this is really kind of out of left field to me. So I think that I think that's something that I'd like to do sometime. Maybe dig in on some British directors.
Okay.
Yeah. Down the road.
Yeah. So anything.
I'm always down to learn.
Right.
And I really just scratched the surface with this.
And this one was surprisingly, though, it wasn't a shitty, like, you remember the Vincent Price movie that was like I Am Legend, The Last Man on Earth? Mm-hmm. You know how bad that fucking thing was, you know? I mean, but it was cool. It was Vincent Price. He was the last man alive. You
can watch that for free.
Everywhere. It's public domain now, I think.
Well, yeah, that's why it's on that Internet Archive.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where you can find this movie.
Yes.
And probably where I'd recommend it because it's really hard to come by otherwise.
Yeah, you couldn't find it anywhere. You could rent it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Anywhere else, no. But no, I mean, this one just was done really well.
It really was. There wasn't anything I didn't like about it. Like you said, like, he's definitely a man of the time, it seems like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they deal with a lot of interpersonal things in this with him specifically.
Yes.
Yeah. And we can get into that if you want.
But see, and that culture over there was, even though it was in the early 60s, that was British culture, which we don't really, again, like you said, haven't really seen represented in movies that we've seen.
Right.
It's out there.
Sure.
And that everything that was there was probably totally like identifiable.
Right.
To anybody over there. But for us, we're like, huh?
Right.
Oh, okay. It was really cool to see a different side of it, and especially the information exchange.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. That's, again, it's not like TV now, sensationalizing very quick, and they were like all about the truth.
Right.
They didn't want to fuck around and be like, oh, maybe.
Give me the science.
Yeah. They're like, tell me how this works, and you better be right.
Right.
Because I ain't putting out shit.
Right.
So that was really cool. Just overall, the movie was very well done. Dialogue was great. Like you said, the interpersonal relationships that were sprinkled in, and it's an hour and 36 minutes or 39.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that in 1961, like, he was a divorced man.
Yeah.
He had a kid. They had scenes with him taking his kid to the fair or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Amusement park, rather.
Yeah.
Ghost Town or whatever.
Yeah.
Ghost Ride, or what was that called?
I don't
Ghost
know.
Train? I don't know. He loved it, though.
Yeah, let's go on the Ghost Train again. And then again, his relationship with his ex-wife.
Right. Get a little bit of that.
And
then whoever that lady is that, like, mediates the child.
The housekeeper.
There you go.
What?
And
she had enough money for a housekeeper. and the young woman that he kind of almost like gets handsy with.
And even before that, we get the, like, inner office drama that's going on with him. Like, the assignments he's getting that he's like, what the hell? Why am I even here?
Yeah, it's all shit.
Yeah.
He's like a copy boy.
Yeah.
Go give me this. Go give me that. I let you borrow my car to go to lunch. You need to give me this.
Yeah.
What? I need 30 years worth of data on the winds in South Africa. What? And he does eventually get kind of tired of it at that point too. He's like, fuck this. Screw you guys. I want something real. I'm a real journalist. Which he does become.
And we'll never know. He could have been the last real journalist on Earth.
And then his glasses fell down and broke.
Damn yous. Damn yous.
Damn yous all to hell. No, but again, well-rounded movie. Very good. You know it's from the 60s. The actors were acting 60s. You know? Nice button down, white collar world that they were living in. They really didn't get into the blue collar stuff. I guess you can consider newspapermen white collar.
I think they're kind of outside of it.
Yeah.
Because, depends on the kind of reporter.
They were the looking glass.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. So
this, like as we mentioned, this starts out in that red hue or whatever. I don't know anything about how that happened.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very interesting because then... And we're there with Pete, and he's telling us something.
Well, he says at that very first party, he of course, he's walking through the street, and it's red because it's supposed to elicit the feeling of it being really, really hot.
Right.
Of course, going with the day the Earth caught fire.
What?
Yeah.
What's the name of this movie?
So he's walking through the streets of London. Yes. On Fleet Street, and nobody's there.
Yeah.
It's just him and like some fucking paper flapping and shit like that. And he's like, wiping his brow, like, "Ooh, it's so hot. I'm walking in the middle of the street and not in the shade. There is no shade." So yeah, he goes into the office. He sits down, and he goes to his original desk, I guess, or a desk.
Yeah.
He's gonna write a story.
As you do.
So you really don't know what's going on right up front. And then he sits down and he says, okay, he rubs his hand on his typewriter and the fucking thing's like inky or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, it's melted almost. Yeah. I guess the little roller is melted or something. It's so hot. So he calls down to the switchboard operator because there's still one there.
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, it's fucking hot. And he's like, yeah, it is fucking hot. Can you get me a copywriter or whatnot? Or whoever he could dictate to. Right. And he's like, I'll see you if somebody's there. So, hold please. So she hooks him up with some dude and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing down here. Right, he's down in the basement or something like that. Still typing up stuff. And he's like, hey,
it's cool down there. He doesn't even know what's going on up there.
Right. He's like, yeah, you want me to? I don't even think we're going to have a late edition. So it's kind of crazy that this guy's going in there. And so he starts telling the story. And this is where I get the 100 days thing.
That's right. Okay.
Because he's like, it's hard to believe that it was only 90 days ago whenever this happened. So, and they cut to the past.
And do they say 3 months?
He just says 90 days. Yeah.
No, okay. I couldn't remember if it set a time when, because when it shifts time.
Yeah, when they go back, that's when we get the first indication that there was a bomb, a really big bomb that dropped 10 days before that.
Right.
That's where I'm getting 100 from.
Sure.
And because they go over to the, I guess the telexes or whatnot, and they're all just like chilling. And then they go back into the past and they're working.
Right.
And they're showing the bustling office, Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
and this is where it shifts to just black and white.
Yes. It kind of goes in the past in the black and white. And so you're apparently listening to his story of everything that's happened, right?
Right.
And he's talking really fast, like as fast as we are. And some dude's like, ding, 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 hold on. So a very fast typist.
Yes.
So yeah, we find out that America dropped a bomb. Did they say where? Was it Antarctica? I don't think so. They just said they dropped the biggest bomb exploded in history.
Right. And Russia dropped one in Siberia?
I think so, but I swear to God, I think
maybe it was in the Antarctica.
But I think I swear to God, I think it was like a day after it happened.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. So it wasn't simultaneous.
Okay.
I could be wrong. So
I could be wrong for sure.
But I thought it was like America dropped one, and they're like, oh, we got to drop one too.
Maybe that's why. Yeah.
So, and we don't really find out about that Russian one until a couple of days after that one.
Yeah.
So in the time progression. So yeah, he's that writer. Is he a writer? Is he?
Yeah. He's definitely a writer. He just keeps getting shitty writing gigs.
Yeah.
And it's that real young cat that's in there, and he's kind of the gopher, like gets the guy Coke all the time.
Yeah.
Not Coke, Coca-Cola.
Yeah. So go get us a soda, boy.
And when the first time his friend gets that Coke, he says something about the world drinking them. And I'm like, is this a Coke commercial? How much money did they pay for this? Because he has a lot of Coke.
Yeah.
He's like the Scarface of Coca-Cola.
Yeah. He's addicted to it. They had to put it in. They had to put it in there. You know. What's your character trait? I drink a lot of sodas, so they call me Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Anyways,
but
yeah.
So they're just going through their normal everyday shit, right? And you're gonna have to kind of take over because I had to watch this while.
So this is where they really start kind of focusing on the things that are happening externally. Like you keep seeing the stuff about the earthquakes and the things like that.
And they're mentioning it in passing.
Right.
Like,
it just builds up over time, and then it gets to a point, and I don't think we need to harp on a lot of the pieces.
No.
But we'll just hit the main plots.
Right.
Over time, then their people are starting to say that the nuclear explosion had something to do with it. At this time, we had already found out that Russia had done one too, and that's somehow caused this ecological terror, and that the Arctic caps are melting.
Well, they think so.
They think
right. So because whenever they mention it, the dude's like, "You'd have to. The bomb that was dropped wouldn't have covered up, the Isle of Wight,
right,
or some shit like that, right?" So it's like, okay, so it wouldn't have caused the seas to rise that much,
right?
Even if they destroyed a lot of it,
right?
So yeah, because the water's rising, the fog comes over London.
Well, before the fog comes over, I do want to get to the one of the main subplots.
Oh.
Is he goes, our main character Pete goes to somebody at the regulations, some governmental thing.
Right. Somebody working for the ministry.
Yeah. Ministry, thank you. Not British, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
You just had a Canadian. Sorry.
We're the American British.
Sorry. Wow, now I'm way off track.
Yeah. So yeah, he goes to visit somebody at the
ministry. And that's where we meet our female protagonist, and she is working with the guy he goes to see.
Yes, the main dude. He was sent to go get the data.
Yeah, he's just trying to get the data for, to basically they're vetting all these theories,
trying to figure out why everything's
what's
going
on.
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the whole and at this time too, they're hitting record-breaking temperatures, and
they're starting to.
Yes,
they're starting to, because then we get the fog. We start getting the protesters
against the nuclear. Yeah,
then there's like a whole protester group that's like, go nuclear, and then they fight for a while. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Is there a group that's like, go nuclear?
Yeah. He's all, fuck the whales. Well, the dude gets knocked into a fountain. One dude does. Because he's like the touting around kind of a guy. He goes everywhere, and he's like trying to do this, trying to do that.
He's making those connections so that he can uncover stories.
Right.
And he kind of makes a comment to her, I think, while they're there, right? And she almost says something like, I've heard about you. Or alludes to that. I'm not in those words.
Yeah. Because he does follow her home, or takes her home at one point.
That's a little later.
Yeah.
Because then we have the fog scenes when they kind of hook back up.
Yeah, they find each other there, but that's after the eclipse.
That is after the eclipse.
So they're covering that protest still, and all of a sudden the fucking sun eclipses.
That's right.
But it happens a week before it's supposed to.
Right.
So it was like in advance, and he grabbed some dude's camera. He's like, "Fuck you, I'll pay you for it. Don't worry."
Right.
I got film in there. He's like, "I don't care. We'll give you 3 more rolls. Who cares?" Right. So he takes a picture of the eclipse, and they see that big giant picture, right? And they're like, "Huh, why does this happen like this?" So they're starting to dig more into it.
Right.
She's integral in it because of him.
Right.
Or the guy that she works for.
Right.
And
the
he's part of it. Yeah, and he's part of it. So the fog comes over, and it's like thick London fog. You know what I mean? No joke.
Yeah, it's probably more so.
It's like smoke.
Yeah.
So that's when they're...
And you do get some kind of crappy smoke special effects when they're in the harbor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's 1961, and they made this for like 190,000 pounds.
I don't know what the conversion rate back then was.
I don't know what that would be today.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
doesn't seem like a lot.
Probably $125,000 American back then. I don't know.
Which is really like 10 million now. I don't.
Yeah, they had a
math,
budget,
whatever.
But we do get that interpersonal stuff that we were talking about earlier. How they're, he's talking about. He really wants to hook up with her though.
Yeah.
Like savagely, like for the 60s.
Yeah. He's a little forward.
Yeah.
Like a lot forward. He like tries to kiss her several times when they make it back to her house.
Yeah, because
he just asked to come in so he can use the phone.
Yeah. She's like, "Hey, you can use my phone."
Yeah.
And it's during the foggy, and she's like, "It's 16 paces, or it's, it's a little ways up and to the left," and he keeps walking past because nobody can find anybody.
Right.
The fog is so dense.
Well, they find that little kid because everything like there's wrecks, like there's a bus, like they're on a bus, it wrecks, and they're like, "It's our cue to get out of here."
Yeah,
that's what he says. Yeah. Or something like
they're
that.
having to use fire.
Yeah.
The
police. So
so they can
like
track
lanterns almost. Yeah.
Right, and we do get a little bit of what the airport is going through. They're saying you have like. What is it, 16 yards or something?
Well, because we get that helicopter scene where the guy goes up in the helicopter and he's like straight up, straight down, and then he's like, "What's the airport look like? Let's go check it out." It's exactly the opposite of what you said.
Okay. Yeah, so we get those really cool above shots with the fog rolling in and stuff. Yeah, and they end up in her apartment. He's really kind of forward, and she's like, "Why don't you work for it?"
Yeah.
I don't want to work for it. Give me some.
And she's obviously super attracted to him too, but she's
like
got some standards and morals.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah,
down the road. Not so much.
Not so much. But so, yeah, he ends up leaving again, right? And then he's doing his whole research. He's going through everything, right? And it's slowly building up to where they're figuring out this and that.
And we're getting, again, now it's still getting hotter. Now it's like 92. And then we start seeing like the temperatures on paper, right? On the newspapers.
Right. Yeah.
It's like 95, the hottest ever. Your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And he comes back to her little apartment, right? Goes through, meets the dude at the front. He's like, "Here, have a drink of this. It's going to be a hot one,
Right.
It's like, let me use the phone. So he calls her up, and that's when we get the side boob. and the
most
full
important
frontal,
part of the movie.
Yeah, in the full frontal boob in the mirror. And yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. It was Janet Leigh, I don't think was doing that shit in fucking Psycho at that point. I don't know, maybe.
It was a little risque, but
yeah.
That's cool.
She's washing her hair in the sink, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Right, and then he ends up staying the night.
Yeah,
in the bathroom.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to go home or something. I don't know. He's like, "I'll sleep."
Well, it's because of the fog, I think.
Yeah.
That's the excuse.
Yeah, she's sleeping naked. He comes in there.
She's excited. Whether you see it, she's pretty excited. He's there.
Yeah, and then it starts raining because the fog's gone.
Yeah.
And so we start noticing more and more things happening, and this is where they get into the whole. Is this where they get into the part where they're showing all the animals dying? Or is that a little bit after?
I think that's a little bit
because
down the road, yeah.
Because eventually she stops him and is like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Right. Meet me here." So they meet at some coffee shop outside, and she's like, "Not here. We need to go someplace else, private. He's like, let's go to the fair. So they go to that amusement park, and he's like, don't worry about it.
We've seen him take his son,
Yes.
which we didn't really mention in the course of the story. We did talk about earlier.
Yeah.
So we do get to see those scenes.
Yeah, it was a little bit... It was like sprinkled in, like, hey, because he tells somebody, oh, yeah, I got a kid and stuff like that. You know, we're estranged. And
well, he even tells her when they're, when they find that one kid.
Yeah.
During the fog.
Yeah, it's like, I got a son. Oh.
She's like, you look like you're comfortable picking up kids. What are you trying to say?
That's weird.
No, my name's not Jeffrey Epstein.
I am not a member of NAMBLA. So it's just, it kind of, again, as the world is going to shit, their relationship is getting better and better.
Right.
You know, so it's getting into this weird spot.
But then what does she tell him?
She tells him on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
That guess what? So we don't know. They cut away from that while they're on there.
Right.
She's like, this is fucking pretty crazy. This is what I heard because I had to run the switchboard.
Right.
You know, so she finds out kind of inadvertently, but yet she's been around the whole time.
She knows things she shouldn't know.
So it's like 20, 30 days into it or something like that, right? Or supposedly. So technically she tells him, because he promises her, right, I'm not going to run the story, I promise.
At first he doesn't, though. He's like, well, I can't look, I'm a reporter.
Yeah.
You know,
anything you tell me, I'm going to have to go tell to the editors, and we're going to have to get this going.
The public deserves to know.
Exactly. That's the truth in journalism at that point.
Right.
Now they're not like, oh, fuck it. You know what I mean? Not like,
I'm getting paid and laid. Nah, nobody needs to know.
What's a cool comparison from then to now is that movie Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
To where the media is spinning it, and they're just like, whatever, don't look up. You know, and these people are like, nah, we need the truth. Right. So you get to see that opposite end of an end of the world situation.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. Don't look up. There's no meteor coming. Whatever.
Right.
In this one, they're like, fuck. So they find out
that's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So whenever they find out that she tells him, and he runs the story that the Earth is on a 11-degree.
It's moved its axis 11 degrees.
Yes. So the equator
11 degrees closer to.
Oh, it's to the, I think the east or the whatever. Something like that. So it goes, but it's also out of orbit.
Right. And so, it's caused them to spin
closer, going towards the
sun. Right.
So and they kind of go into a little bit of the science. How many billions of miles is it from where we're at right now? Well, it doesn't matter. You know, we're in the fucking, what is it? The Goldilocks zone. Right. You know, right now to where everything's perfect. But now that 11-degree tilt and the off-axis,
well, I think that's
rotation.
What caused that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever they exploded the bombs, it basically tilted, but then it shifted them out of orbit.
Right.
And that's why the eclipse was where it is. That's why all the seasons had changed, everything like that. So, of course, she gets vilified as a villain. Right. Because they find out somehow that it was her.
Right. That's told him.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's
leaked it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, you can't expect me with news like this to keep it silent.
Right.
Which, you know, they don't really go into the detail of the riots or anything like that. They have a little bit of part on it.
They just have that stuff in the background. I give that gentleman some valor, though, for like, in the face of that. Yeah, I know he promised her, but he's doing what he knows is right.
Yes.
For the public, and being a reporter for the people rather than, you know.
Yes.
I equate that to the 6th grade. When I was going to the 6th grade dance with this girl.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And we were playing kickball in gym, and she kicked it, or somebody had kicked it towards me, and she was running from first to second, and I hesitated to throw it at her, and then I nailed her. I just smoked her.
You're like, integrity, bitch.
And I was like, it's a game.
Sorry. See you at the dance. My mom, your mom. Who's picking us up?
Exactly.
Walk that off.
Walk it off. Rub some dirt on it. It's cool. Anyway, so yeah, that's my comparison.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a very good one.
Integrity.
So they have that weird, where she's basically under protection.
Right.
And he's like, what the hell's going on? Because he goes into the place. It's already starting to boil hot. That's when they start showing the animals like walking and like dying and shit.
Right.
All the water's drying up. They kind of get into the, what was it? Like, it was £1 for 5 gallons or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was black market water.
Right. And they're giving them water like at the public wash stations that they set up.
Well, they had wash stations, and then they had the ones where you could drink.
Like the lines where they were getting their buckets and stuff.
Right.
But they're like carrying huge buckets, and they're giving them like 2 or 3 scoops.
Yeah. It's like, he would just turn it on for like 2 seconds.
Yep. That's all the water you get.
2. That's done. And you can hear the babies crying, and you actually get to see what everybody's like sweating.
And that's where you start seeing like the animals that were dead and all that.
Everything's just drying up. Yeah. So if you're in a different spot on the earth, that's always going to change too, because they are off of the not necessarily the rotation, but the actual orbit.
Well, and they do mention that like the equator's changed, things like that.
So the orbit changing too is bringing them closer to it, because they're somehow moving into it,
right? Which seems like it wouldn't happen that quick. What do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know about physics?
Yeah.
Astrophysics.
Yeah. They blew the bombs on the side that was pushing towards.
Yeah. So that's where we get to the crux, right? Of what their big plan is they are going to set off more nuclear bombs.
Fuck
it. To try to knock it back.
Yeah. First ones worked. And science.
And I think the best part of all that is like he leaves. Like they go to the bar, the like private members only bar.
Yeah.
And they all have a drink together, and then he walks back to the newspaper. All by himself, and they stay there.
So one of the big editors and everything like that, because she actually ends up going to work.
Oh yeah,
for the newspaper.
Sorry,
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, she
like in the data side of it.
Yeah, she's on that part of it, and
because he even says like the boss guy is like, if don't worry about it. If she gets out of there, we'll give her a job.
Yeah, because she was the one that told the truth,
right?
And then also we get to see him leaving watching his son drive away.
Yeah.
With
and that's where we first see the ex-wife.
Yeah, the ex-wife
she just kind of stares at him.
Yeah,
a lot.
And he's at a public wash station, and they're fighting over like, does it matter if we're washing with it or drinking it?
Right.
It doesn't, does it? And they're like, no, you're supposed to clean your ass over here. Drink this water. He's like, it doesn't matter if it's going on you or in you.
Right.
It's water.
Yeah.
So then also...
the riot, too.
Yeah. Well, I
think that's right after this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's going back into town, and that's when most of the shit is like...
Yeah, the ex-wife and the kid and the weird boyfriend, husband, whatever he is.
Stepdad.
Yeah.
Yes.
He like puts out his hand, and the guy's like, what am I supposed to do? And then they shake hands, and they're like, whatever. Take care of the boy.
Yeah. Take care of him. And he doesn't even say bye to the kid. The kid's like, let me sit up front. Don't you be fidgeting up there.
And then you're right. He walks in, and that's when we start seeing more of the rioting and things going on. And then he gets to her apartment.
Yes.
And there's people in her apartment. They've got her like in the bathtub and
like throwing water on her.
Yeah, and they're all throwing water everywhere.
Right.
Like crazy
so
people.
They're outside playing their jazz music, smoking them jazz cigarettes and like partying. One woman runs up to him and just like fucking bear hugs him, and he throws her down, and she's like, ugh. There's some dude playing a trumpet.
There's a lady being brought in on like a Jabba the Hutt throne.
Yes. Yeah. Like a skiff.
Yes.
And yeah, they're all partying, and they've closed down that section of town.
Right.
Because
Well, and the cop even says when he's like letting him go through with the car, right?
Yeah. That's Michael Caine, by the way.
Was it really?
Yes. Sir Michael Caine.
Dang.
Yeah, no shit. He's like, oh, you're only going there? Go for it.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Yes, no shit. That was Sir Michael Caine. You can tell after you know it.
Sure.
You look at him, you're like, oh, well, you
That
don't
is
really
Michael
see him.
Caine.
You can hear him.
Right. Sure.
And yeah, so he gets up to her apartment, and they're all going fucking nuts, just like flooding the whole place.
Throughout the whole apartment, like people are just throwing water at each other and whatever. And then he gets up to her apartment, and they're in there like with her in the bathtub, and there's like what, 4 of them?
They're all bullying her.
Yeah.
You know, she's just sitting in the bathtub, and they're just throwing water on her. Like, I want to throw it. Yeah.
That would have been like great.
So
So he needs some water, and it's real hot.
he busts through, and then like he starts whooping ass.
Yeah,
right?
he starts punching people in the moots.
Yes. He's like, tank shot, pow, booby shot, bam, ah. And then he gets knocked into the window, starts bleeding and shit. And he goes over to her and he's like, are you okay? Because I guess they knew who she was.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
There's not really much there to let you know that either way.
Yeah. And then that's when they kind of go back up to the newspaper office.
Yes.
And that's when, you know, he sees a dude walking out. His main boss, not the editor in chief, but one of the editors.
Yeah, like his buddy kind of boss. Yeah.
The one that gave him all the shit assignments.
Oh no, not him. Yeah.
The one with the glasses and everything, and lets him borrow his car and shit like that.
Right.
And so that copy boy dies at one point because he walks in and he's like, oh no, the water must be poisoned because he got that black market water.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It was the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome water.
As it's all going on too, he looks worse and worse, and then finally he just collapses.
And then they have him sitting there and they're like, what part of town is he from? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, it figures, you know. What? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gets taken away. So we get to see that part of it, that angle. Then all the rioting by the young people, all the Beatles fans. You know.
Crazy Beatles fans.
Jeez. So they follow him. He's like, what are you doing here? Well, I'm about to go down to the bar because there's a countdown going.
Yeah, I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah, if you come with me, I'll buy you a drink. Well, what are you going to go down there for? To see what happens when they hit 0.
Yep.
You know, so they end up at the back of that members only club. You know, they come in and the woman's like, hey, I got something special for this.
Right.
She pops open like the 50-year-old, you know, whiskey or some shit like that. The Louis the 15th whiskey.
And her husband's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, shut up, idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
I don't remember what she says, but she's like basically like,
she says something like, but oh God,
it's about being with him's like terrible. Almost,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
something. I don't remember what the phrase was.
And it really stuns him too. He's like, oh.
And he even has to say later, he's like, did you mean that?
Yes.
And she's like,
yeah.
no.
At the last part of the countdown.
Right.
So, you know, of course, Home Dude has already asked his boss is like, hey, can I be there?
Oh, Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete's like, yeah, I want to be there whenever it stops.
Right.
I want to be that. I want to
Peter?
report on it.
Yeah.
So that's whenever he walks back to the office.
Yeah.
You know, and he starts telling the story. So that's how we get there.
Right.
And then it's in that red hue
Yeah,
again.
it comes back.
Yes.
And then I thought what was really cool, the coolest thing, so we've, you know, of course, the countdown was to launch the missiles or to set off the nuclear detonations to try to change it back.
Yeah.
And they have 2 papers printed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One that's like success, and one that's like we're all gonna die.
Yeah. The Earth
Failure.
is doomed. You know, we
and they're
win.
both hanging up, and that's how they cut it,
Yeah. So you don't know.
which is perfect.
You don't get to hear the bombs drop.
Right.
You don't get to know that the bombs drop. You don't. All you hear is the bells.
Yep.
The bells from one of the churches, probably like one of their big cathedrals over there or something, or it was Big Ben.
And that's the end. That's what ends it, is the cathedral bells.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you don't. They leave it very ambiguous, where you can kind of try to continue that and make that, but they don't. I mean, it's totally a cool way that they did it, and you know that whole time he was telling you the whole story, and that's where I got the 100 days from.
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
You know, I was thinking, damn, it took 100 days. There has to be something to that too. Like if we were knocked off axis or something like
you
that.
mean math and stuff?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's got to be something to that would really point to that. if that happened. And
1961 math and astroscience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Einstein,
Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah.
Somebody figured it out.
No, sure.
Yeah, but I'm wondering how the writer knew that.
Yeah, there were people going to space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
61.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought this movie was definitely different than what I thought I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, was just a great story. I thought it was done well.
Yeah.
For given what it was,
Right.
like again, when we had the destruction and it was all the models of cars, you could really tell
The wind starts blowing really much.
Right. And
People
then
are falling off the docks and shit.
the stock footage mixed in, what I mean? You definitely tell they're like, we're on a budget.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought the story was great.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why I would like to jump further into maybe I would like to start with this British director and kind of maybe take a look at some British directors that are maybe drop culture, especially to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, this is a drop culture movie if I ever knew one.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, I bet you if we would have done more research on any of the other movies, but we just kind of threw those in, the Thankskilling movies, and this one totally fits in the deal because this was pre-digital and all that other shit like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was straight up like, because I mean, Threads was set in the 70s, right? Early 80s.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was 80s.
80s.
Yeah, all the other ones that we did
were in the 80s.
Yeah, even by Dawn's Early Light, which I did watch that one not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact this week because it's on Prime, I watched that one first and then I watched this one. That was set in 89.
Okay. Wow.
I think it was released in 89.
Okay.
But it was about 1990 or some shit like that. So,
well, let me tell you that we could almost spin this into another Thankskilling trilogy if we wanted to, because we were also by another YouTube commenter given the name of another movie to watch was The War Game from 1966, which is a British movie about nuclear war.
Yeah, we need to find it.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. See if we can find that, and then we'll watch Project X to wrap it all up.
No, we won't. But we'll watch something. I think that, we'll check into it. See, we may continue.
We may not.
We may not. It's Thankskilling. I mean, we already had other things planned, so we just kind of inserted this because it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And a great idea. And I'm glad we did because I would have never thought to watch this. And I've
know.
never heard of it.
And to see, again, like Threads, see how they would have handled it not being really technically part of the war.
Right, right. And I think the other side of it is this is like 25 years earlier than all the other movies, So to see like what that was like then.
Yeah.
Right
at the height.
But there were stresses with no science, no hard science, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even though we know nuclear war would be way different, like if they had all the nuclear devices.
Yeah.
It was still very interesting.
Right.
And not completely outside of logic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I don't think a man-made bomb, unless it like destroyed, half a continent, would knock us out of orbit.
I don't think so either, but again,
a meteor would. A big enough meteor, I think, would really kind of hit us so hard that it might cause a little shift, but it'd have to be the size of freaking Africa. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'd have to be something that big to really kind of fuck us up. I'm no scientist. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Sure.
Just trying to think of logically how big something would have to be to knock something over,
Yeah. Especially something as big as a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that this would happen, this scenario, but I think that it was an interesting thought, especially in 1961. That's all I was saying.
Because they were still experimenting on the well, they were past the early experiments because the 50s were the early experiments.
Sure.
With nuclear bombs. Because I think they've set off a total, under 100 maybe or something like that, totally, throughout the entire lifespan of figuring it out.
Sure.
In the nuclear age.
Russia, real crazy about it. They dropped the one that was 10 times bigger than Hiroshima.
That was the Tsar bomba.
Yeah.
That they dropped off in the middle of Siberia.
250 megatons?
Oh my God, yes. And now they have bombs that are 2 times that powerful.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
That they have in Russia right now.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of fits into what we're...
Not that we don't too, but...
Well, yeah. We probably got something 3 times more. You know?
I thought it was... And while we're on the subject, since we all know what is bringing up these subjects right now, I thought it was very interesting that there was a video of a laser system that we have that'll shoot down subsonic missiles out of the ground, they just... But then right after that, or maybe right around that time, Russia was like, yeah, well, we have hypersonic missiles now. And I'm like, well, that's dated technology, sir.
Right.
So hope you got something for that.
Okay.
But who knows? I don't know anything.
Right. So I'm way under,
okay,
but right on the mark for the individuals. Okay. When I was saying 200 total nuclear bombs.
Okay.
The United States has detonated over 200.
Okay.
So has the Soviet Union, 20 by Britain, 50 by France, and over 20 by China. But as a total, 2,000.
Wow. 2,000
nuclear detonations worldwide between 45 and 96. 25%. Or over 500.
That's where cancer came from.
Exactly. Damn you for taking John Wayne from us too early. 25% or over 500 bombs were exploded in the atmosphere.
Wow.
Plus they exploded the ones in space and they did the ones fucking under the water and shit like that. I mean, damn. I mean,
crazy.
That's so fucking crazy to think that we had the technology to wipe us all out back then, and we still fear it. People haven't, they opened Pandora's box with that shit. Kind of was like, how much bigger can we get? Let's do this one. That footage of the Tsar Bomba is fucking terrifying though. To see how big that thing is.
Sure.
Ooh. Whenever they did that, it was like, oh shit, maybe we need to stop. Maybe they saw this movie, it was like, whoa.
Hold on.
Yeah, I already seen it.
But I think this was a valuable addition. Thank you, RSEFX, for recommending it. And perhaps we'll
continue this.
We'll continue this a little bit further. Really appreciate you guys listening. You can check us out at droppedculturepodcast.com, droppedculturepodcast@gmail.com. On the Twitters and the Face Spaces and the Instagrams, all the things.
Yeah.
Whatever social media you're on or whatever, YouTube, give us a comment, wherever you want to.
Yeah, we also started a new giveaway program with all Mountain Dews. If you look under the cap, you might win a free episode.
That's true.
So keep buying those Mountain Dews out there. You never know what you're going to get.
Mountain Dew, not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but yet they're running our campaign.
No logic. No.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace. I was like, what is that guy's handle on fucking YouTube?
Yeah, it's
I had to look it up. RSEFX.